Hello and welcome to Diniz Farms. We're back with another episode of Mercer County, and today we're going to be getting started with a little bit of tillage here. We're going to get this all set up at least with horseplay so that this 9520 can start knocking out, doing a little bit of ripping here on this cornfield. And then we're going to switch over and start on our soybean harvest. So let's take this up here to the corner of the field, because I always like to start from a corner with horseplay. And real quick, we're just going to come in here. Last time we determined 3 headland passes was about perfect. And then for a starting direction, we are going to try and get that nice angle here in the field. And so we're just going to put 10 degrees extra on here and see what it looks like. Looks pretty good to me. We're going to run with that, I think. Unless, actually, we'd like to have the angles going the other way if possible. I think that'll be more efficient given that we have this longer stretch this way. So we're going to do that. We are going with a 10-degree angle here, just because I think that lines up with the texture a little bit better with multi-terrain angle, making it look just a smidge more realistic. I came to the conclusion we should probably do the headlands at the end since we'll be turning around a ton here. So after a little bit of finagling, we decided to set up a skip row course here for our tillage, be a little bit more realistic and go on the angles here. And so unfortunately that means we got to start in a little bit of an awkward spot, but it's going to look good. So that's okay. We're going to get this guy going here. One thing to point out, this Landau plow is now finally released. Perma's put this out on the mod network here not too long ago, a few days ago. And so you can find the announcement on his Facebook page. But if you just go to the mod network, you're going to be able to find this Landau plow there on the mod network available for download. I haven't updated the version I'm using here, but he does have all of the texturing issues fixed and a few other small modifications that he's made to it. So it's all patched up and ready to go there. It also has its work speed reduced to be a little bit more realistically. We're going a little bit faster than we should be going, but that's okay. We're going to let this guy go to town here on ripping this field, and as you can see, doing the 10-degree offset makes it line up really nicely with the textures, where when we were doing the 5-degree offset on the other field, it just didn't look quite right. So I'm liking this a lot better. It might be a little bit steeper than you would do in real life, but I prefer for it to look good in the game here rather than be 100% accurate. So we're gonna let this tillage machine do its thing and get back up to the farm. All right, so here we are back up at the farm. I think we're gonna just put the truck right here. We've got the combine all set up here with the bean head on it and ready to go. We washed all of our equipment up here after the corn harvest, got everything cleaned up and ready to go, which is nice. And so I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and head out here and tackle this bean field up here by the road, and then we'll jump into the one behind the farm afterwards. Now, the great thing with beans is that we're going to have a lower overall yield, and so I think we're going to be able to do this pretty easily. This is the first time we're using the combine here on beans, especially with this header, so I'm always excited to see everything's working out. And then if you look to the lower right-hand corner of the screen there, you'll notice that a few things are changed. The information is the same as I had with Unit Convert, but we've moved from Unit Convert into the Community Extension mod by Thundar. And so I've got my bushels there, how many bushels we have in the tank, including a percent full meter. And I'm seeing that we're getting 62 bushels to the acre here. And below the clock there, I've worked 0.24 acres already, so we're going to be keeping track of how many acres we're working with the machine, as well as how well we're yielding, which is pretty exciting to have all that information available. And the great thing with the community extension mod here is that it makes a lot of other cool additions to the game. For example, Unit Convert had added the bushels in here. You can now set the precision of each of these, which is handy. So if you want to see a little bit more granular detail, and then if we come into the store here, you'll see I can now see how many bushels vehicles use, which is amazing. Or if we're looking at something that has gallons, we're going to be able to configure that. Like this Rubicon 9000 has a liquid tank on it, and I'm able to see how many gallons that holds. On vehicles that hold both the dry and the wet, it looks like the dry fill unit is the one in the lead, so I'm seeing that in tons. And then you've got a handy button down here, so you can just switch that into the other units that you've decided to set up. So I could see that in gallons if I wanted as well. So this is just really, really cool. Lots of good enhancements coming to the game. And so this is one of those things when people ask if I'm excited for Farm Sim 22. Yes, I am. But there's still a lot of really cool things in Farm Sim 19 that are coming out, being updated and enhanced. I think that I'm going to have a lot of fun with Farm Sim 19 here before Farm Sim 22 comes out. I'm really excited for some of the mods that are still in progress and coming out. And so I'm kind of giving you guys a sneak peek of some of the features with the community extension mod. There's a few other major features coming to it soon. And so I'm holding off doing a full mod review and tutorial of this mod until the next major version comes out. But if you are interested in acquiring the community extension mod, I will try and put some links to Thundar's Discord and downloads in the description of the video. He's been kind enough to make those publicly available to people at this point, and so I'm excited to be getting to use these, and I'm excited to get a chance to share those with everyone. So we're making good progress on this bean field, just taking the headland pass off here. I think we're going to get away with just doing the one headland up here. We've got a little bit of ditch grass here that's pretty flat that we can turn onto, so I'm not too worried about it. Though I think we will take another headland pass on the other end here down by the trees. So once we get down by the trees here and take off that other headland pass, we'll probably start a worker off so we can go grab the grain cart and bring it out here. I don't think we're going to need to bring the semi out here. I don't think we're going to get that many beans, so we'll probably just fill up the grain cart as we harvest this field. I think that's going to be plenty good for us, especially since we're almost one full round on this field and we're only at 30% capacity in the hopper. And just looking across the way here, our tillage guy is going to town. We're really knocking that field out. We really probably should have updated to the most recent version of that mod that slows it down to about 6 miles an hour. I think he's currently doing tillage at 11, which is a little bit fast. I could probably go over there and set his cruise control down a little bit, but I'm not too worried about it. He's doing a great job. If we take a quick look at the precision farming map here, you can see we're doing pretty good. Green yields across the board down here, so happy with that. And we're coming up here to our end rows again. Well, like I said, we're just going to take one more headland pass off here, I think. Give us enough room to turn around by these trees. And then we'll fire a worker off and go get that grain cart, I think. Now, even though this combine isn't full yet, I think we're going to unload now while we've got the auger on the right side. And then we'll go over and check in on this tillage tool as well, just to see how it's doing. All right, it looks like we have finally finished harvesting this field of beans here. And we're gonna run this grain cart up to the yard. I think I've got the truck all set up and able to be dumped into, although I think the tarp's probably on the wrong side for me. Oh, nope, we did park it the way I wanted to. Always thinking ahead. So we're gonna go ahead and put these beans into the truck here and get them going into that front hopper. I think we'll go grab the combine here and get him going on this next field of beans. As you can see over here, we've got a lot of progress made in on the tillage up there in that field. We're doing pretty good, which is exciting times. And so we're gonna keep going on the bean ground here, get it all harvested up. And I'm pretty sure that tillage is gonna get done before we're done harvesting this field, which is fine by me. We're operating quite efficiently this fall. Got just the right amount of equipment to keep everything moving here. So if we bring up the menu here, you can see we're also getting 62 bushel an acre beans here in this field. We've already completed 7.5 acres of harvest, which is pretty cool. We've got our nice little fields here. If we bring up the map here, you can see we're getting yields about what we would expect. Field 24 here was pretty consistent, as I think it's a single soil type. Field 25 is going to be about the same. You can see we've got this little bit in the middle part here, which is loam, which should yield a lot better than the rest of this field, or at least, you know, a bit better. And so we're expecting similar yields between field 24 and 25, except for that middle part, which we'll see a bit of a boost to. So I'll be curious to see how many bushels an acre that boost is once we get to that part of opening up the field here. And we've done a pretty good job this series of not taking out large amounts of debt. We did start with a decent lineup of equipment, however. Usually I find that I've forgotten some major equipment for the farm, and we end up way in debt for the first year of our playthrough. Versus this series, I feel like we started with just the right equipment, and we've been moving along quite nicely. And so I'm looking forward to spending some of that money to expand our farm here next season. We'll pick up some additional fields here in the fall probably to allow us the ability to get them into the right states coming into the planting season. And so I've been looking around the map a little bit, and I really think that I want to try and pick up one of these fields down here. Maybe field 18 is going to be within our price budget, maybe field 22. So those are the two that I've got my eye on, mostly because they're not square. I feel like we've got a lot of square fields right now, so I'd like to pick up something that's a little bit more interesting to do field work in. I like the challenge of working with irregular fields. And so that's what I've got my eye on at the moment. We just need to finish getting through harvest here and make some money so that we can see what our budget is going to be. I don't mind taking out a little bit of a loan, but I'd really like to keep our loan pretty low this series, so we're not paying down so much interest every day. Somewhere in the 100, maybe 200,000 range would be good, so we might be able to pick up both of those fields if I took out a small loan to help us out with that. But I think the size of those fields and the yield potential that we might get off of those would definitely offset the cost, and we'd be able to pay that loan back within the first year. That would be my goal, at least. And I forgot to check and see what our yield was while we were going around that corner. If we bring up the precision farming map here, we can see it's this area right in here that we want to check the yield on. And what I don't know is that 63 bushels an acre an average, or is that my real-time current yield? So we're going to see as we go around this corner here. I would expect it to pick up fairly drastically, like in the 10 to 20% range here, if it was real-time yield, but it looks like it's more of an average, because this should be, if I bring up our little map here, yielding a bit better. and I didn't really see that ever go above 63 bushels an acre. And so I think that's a running counter now, giving me my average bushels an acre over the area that we have currently been harvesting. I'll have to look at the documentation there and see how that's supposed to work. Again, this is why I'm holding off on doing a tutorial on all the features and functions of this community extensions mod until I've had a chance to learn all of the details. So I'm going to take another round off on this field here. It's kind of an irregularly shaped field, and so it feels like the best thing to do is to just keep going around it until I've got at least 2 passes off on every side. Well, that way we won't be running into any trees or our bins as we continue to make maneuvers here. We did change direction though to get my pipe on the outside so that when we do eventually get full here, I can just bring the grain cart up right alongside us. So we're making really good progress here. It looks like our tillage guy is working on the headland passes, and based on the skips again, I think I forgot to set it up so that it will raise and lower the implement at the appropriate times. Unfortunate. We'll have to go back and clean that up here ourselves at some point. But I think we're going to set the worker off on this long stretch here, clean up our jagged row just a little bit. And I'm going to grab this grain cart and run out here so that we can unload the combine on his way back up. Honestly, for a bean field like this in real life, I'd probably just dump on the headland here at a standstill because you're not really pulling in that many beans, but we've got the worker available to us today, so we might as well leverage the efficiency gain of unloading on the go here. And then if we look here in cab, we do have this monitor which is hooked up. Currently, I don't think I've got it configured correctly for the unit convert mod though. I don't know. I think that top number is currently showing us the liters, where the bottom number is probably showing us the pounds going in. I'm not sure. I don't know why that guy just lifted his head up. That was a little bit confusing. This weight monitor is another mod by Hermes Modding. I did a tutorial on it here not too long ago, and so I know it's definitely possible to get this all set up to run with the unit convert mod, and I assume that also applies to the community extension mod. And so we'll be looking into making some tweaks to make sure that's all wired up appropriately here in the future. I really like having those in-cab grain scales. Kind of helps keep tabs on what's going on. And at some point here soon, I think I'm going to try and do, I'm hesitant to say full realistic, but we're going to bust out the steering wheel. We're going to try and do some more in-cab driving, see how that goes, see if I can find a good way to balance the camera with making good YouTube content. Either way, we're doing really good on the beans here. That was our second combine hopper full, and so I think we'll get maybe a half a truck full of beans here off of these two little fields. We've got just a few passes left over here on this field that we're gonna finish up real quick and check in on what our total yield is for the year. I'm really kind of curious what our beans end up coming in at. Oh no, if we look at our map here, soybeans should be adding some nitrogen back into the soil. However, these short season soybeans, I forgot to check the precision farming setup. We didn't add them in as a crop type, and so they're acting, I believe, as wheat and taking nitrogen back out of the soil. And so that is unfortunate. We were hoping to be putting some nitrogen into the soil here with our soybeans. I'll have to make a note of that and make some updates so that that doesn't work that way next season. So it looks like we've got a fair amount of nitrogen we're going to need to add back into these fields before we put corn on. I guess that'll be a good excuse to bust out some nitrogen equipment. We've got anhydrous ammonia on this map, and I have a few mods I haven't used in a while, so maybe we'll bust out an anhydrous ammonia toolbar and put some of that down here before planting. It'll be fun to experience that aspect of the game because it's a little bit different. I know I've been applying anhydrous in my County of 40 Mile series while we're seeding, which you can do. That's a little bit different though. When you're doing it when you're seeding, it's putting on the right amount for the seed that you're applying. In this case, we'll be putting on a flat amount in preparation for putting something in, and so we'll have to actually pay attention to our application amounts. So I think that, spoiler alert, next episode we'll be looking into what it takes to put down some anhydrous ammonia here in our fields. We've got the last pass of beans here. Always exciting to be taking the last pass of the season. We'll have a lot of selling to do over the winter with our dry corn. We'll have some selling of our beans to do next summer, I think, is how the timing works out here. And so we're definitely excited. This has been a fun mid-sized farm for us. We're going to add some fields on it and keep growing here and see how that goes next season. I think our equipment's going to be able to keep up with a slightly bigger farm. And so I don't want to expand too fast, but I am looking forward to picking up a few more fields as well here. We talked about this, I think, recently in one of the other episodes, but I'm curious to know if anybody has a good recommendation for a sprayer mod that I should bring onto this farm. I'm not overly happy with the sprayer I have now with the articulating tongue, and so I'm going to be swapping that out for another mod, and I'm open to suggestions. We've got a little bit of time before spring where we'll be doing most of our spraying, so let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll take a look, and we'll be updating that piece of equipment here in the near future as well. Well, let's dump these beans into the semi just so that we've got a good total look at how much we brought in from a harvest perspective. And before we forget about it, I'm going to jump back into this combine, and you can see we worked a total of 12 acres of beans that we had planted between these two fields. So in reality, a 9660, very much overkill for 12 acres, but that's okay. We tend to run things with a little bit of overkill on this farm. So we're gonna fold this grain cart auger up so I don't crash into anything with it, and park this guy right in the middle of the driveway over here for the time being. And let's jump into our semi here. Almost filled up this front hopper. We got 760 bushels of beans. Now, the real question is, will this silo accept them? I assume so, because this is the silo system that was part of the farm. Diniz Modding did all of the edits to add the short season soybeans, so it looks like that's going to work a-okay. Gonna get those dumped in, and I noticed our dryer has finally stopped running here. And so let's take a look at all of that in the global company menu here in a second. We have processed 365,000 liters of dry corn, and we've got our short season soybeans at 26,700 liters. So we've got a pretty decent amount of material here. I'm really curious, this dry corn, how much it's going to sell for. Unfortunately, it doesn't show up in this menu here, so I can't see that in bushels. But our corn prices are more realistic here, so you can see our dry corn is at $2.28 a bushel versus normal corn being a bit less than that at $2. And so you can see the difference for getting docked for moisture. And our soybeans here, we've actually got a demand for soybeans right now at $7 a bushel, which seems interesting. But I think we'll wait until the summer. The price should be a good chunk better than that. Plus, our short season soybeans are technically a different style or a different crop type here from a selling perspective. And so we'll just wait and see how things play out here towards summertime. And then wrapping up here, it looks like our tillage tool is done with what he felt like doing. We've got a little bit of spots we'll have to clean up, but I think we're gonna do that little bit of cleanup here off camera. This is a great spot to wrap up today's episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed the episode. If you have, drop a like. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for daily farm sim content. That's all for today. Kidderk out. Oh, and we're watching the tillage guy and missing a row of beans here. My goodness. For some reason, I can't pull forward. I'm stuck on something. I don't see what I'm stuck on. Come on. Seriously, what am I stuck on? It just won't go. There's nothing there, though. Okay, well. It's always something.